So here's the thing, Eddie. Here's the thing, people of Indianapolis. It's not just hump day. Let me go ahead and officially welcome everyone. Let me go ahead and officially declare right here at 12 noon on this Wednesday, and I've got to think whether it's the 18th or 19th, the 18th of February. Let me go ahead and declare it. Welcome, people of Indianapolis, to the first day of fall spring. Let's go. Let's go. Fall Summit, when you're climbing a mountain, you think you're there, and you're like, oh, my gosh. Same thing. We're going to have snow flurries still in the future. We're going to have a blustery day around the time that sectionals come. It always happens. But nonetheless, it is 60 degrees. It is glorious. Eddie, where do we stand right now on the snow challenge outside from your view? Are we completely done now?
No.
Really?
I took a walk around the parking lot when I got in because I was like, ooh, I don't see a lot. There's still some. Also, groundhog, not right.
I don't know, though. Which one did he say?
That we would have more winter.
Eddie, it's a fall spring. Don't count your chickens before they hatch here, buddy. Like this is glorious, right? And it looks like it's like when you're riding the beast. When you ride the beast and you go down that at the end and you go back up that hill and you think the ride's about over, and then you look down and there's one tunnel and you go through it and you're like, oh, man, the ride's done. And then boom, around the corner, there's another tunnel you have to go through. That's where we are. It looks like we're at the end of the tunnel, but don't kid yourself entirely. But along with that, along with declaring the beauty of the day, and it's going to be a great day today, and we're going to have a great show, and we're going to have fun, and we're going to celebrate, and we're going to kick back like that day when you first get the scent and the hint and the feel that the school year's almost over with. That's how we're going to treat today. But in that capacity, in the capacity of feeling good about everything in the world and the endorphins or whatever it is that kick in when it's like this outside, I'm going to go ahead and on this Wednesday, on this Ash Wednesday, I'm going to confess to two areas where I have been totally wrong. Two areas where I was totally off base. Now, I've been wrong twice before. First time it happened was in 1978. And then it happened again in like 1992. But I will confess to being wrong about this. Yesterday, when we were talking about Purdue and Michigan, and when we were forecasting the way things were going to go between Purdue and Michigan, and I said, and I truly did feel, I wasn't just saying it to try to be, optimistic Ollie or rah-rah Ricky. I truly did think that with all of the ups and downs that Purdue has had this year, and more up than down, and it's hard to say about a team that's 21-5 that they've had this like roller coaster year, but based on the precedent that Purdue has set for themselves and for us of what we expect out of Purdue basketball, you thought it was going to be, at this point of the year that they were going to be, frankly, where Michigan is 25-1, or where maybe not Miami of Ohio, who, again, won last night is unblemished, but, where Iowa State is, that kind of thing. And maybe it's time to confess and admit that this team has some issue and this team has some shortcoming. And maybe it's time to admit that they have fallen short. In size is the wrong way of saying it, but in playing as if they have size. Because they have a big, obviously, in Oscar Clough they went out and got, and Trey Kaufman-Wren is very effective on the low block. But the area yesterday, I really did think that was going to be a game where Purdue was going to be a 5 to 7 point game for the majority of the game, and then Purdue was going to end up just kind of eking it out and holding on late for a 5 to 7 point win. Really felt that way. What I did not account for, and this is where I was flat out wrong, I knew Michigan and Dusty May's group had size. I knew that Michigan had length, and that is such an overused term oftentimes in basketball. well, this guy's got length. You got to like his length. But Michigan has it. And Michigan, as a result of that, can make things very difficult for you in terms of just sealing things off and closing down lanes and clamping down things. But where I mostly erred was I did not think, and I totally undersold, and maybe I just haven't seen enough of them. Maybe I didn't pay enough attention. And maybe, and more importantly, it is Purdue's deficiency in this area that facilitated it. I totally underestimated Michigan's ability to spread the floor and hit from the outside and blow things open using the three-point shot and using it at a very effective level. Because, and that's the thing with this particular Purdue group, their perimeter defense has been a major Achilles for them, And, you know, that's the thing. You go into a game like this. Let's hear from Matt Painter on the preparation of Michigan and the challenges that Michigan creates, because it's one of those things that you can kind of anticipate it going in, but then after the fact, you look at it and you go, okay, did we do everything that we needed to prepare? You know, seems to me in watching it, because of Michigan's size and Michigan's length, that you feel like trying to corral them on the inside is going to be the measure towards giving you success. But then just when you think that, boom, they go and they hit 13 of 23 from three-point range, and you can't get out and you can't collapse. And that's the challenge of it, the diversity with which they can play. Matt Painter, do you agree that in retrospect, in particular, the preparation for Michigan is one thing, but the execution is another?
Yeah, very difficult. You do some breakdown drills where you're up against it in terms of advancing the basketball and then trying to sprint to build a wall. And so what I always talk about when you're up against it in transition, and it can't be a 2-on-2 deal. It's got to kind of be one of those primary breaks that's like 4-on-3 that's going to morph into 5-on-5. But with them, they really attack the middle when they advance the basketball. So the way we wanted to guard right away, we didn't have somebody picking the ball up. We were going to meet them there. So now you allow that ball to get advanced. When Mara would go out, now we pick the ball up and now they can't advance the basketball. But if you get behind like on a long shot or you get behind on a turnover, oh, good luck to you. Like, yeah, I'd rather teach third grade. Because you're fouling them. You're fouling them. If you're behind a play and they have numbers, you're in trouble, especially if size is involved. Like Yaxel Landenberg is not a normal small forward. Like, he's got size. He had 70 blocks as a freshman and sophomore in college. Like, they have 3 defensive fives, but it's not their issue. Our issue is 2 of those guys can now switch and guard point guards. That's where the difference is. The difference isn't in their scheme. Their difference is how hard they play, how long they are, and how athletic, but that versatility. You know, because Mara can guard a 5, right? And he can cause problems, but you can pick on him, just like people could pick on Zach. Like, you can pick on him. Those other 2 guys, they're difference makers defensively. Like, they make mistakes and they cover their mistakes up. I used to always say that about Jaden Ivey. He'd have great blocks, but he also would get beat and have a great block, right? Those guys make mistakes and they just cover their mistakes up, where the rest of the world, we don't. The rest of the world fouls.
And that's the thing about that team, about Michigan. And credit to Dusty May, because yes, you have to have athleticism in order to cover those mistakes. Yes, you have to have length in order to cover those mistakes, but you also have to have intuition, and you have to have basketball feel. And basketball feel is something that you're either born with or you can eventually learn it. You can eventually learn basketball feel through repetition. You can go out and take a guy on the floor and say, we're going to run drills on getting after a tip ball. We're going to run drills on collapsing in and blocking a shot when somebody gets into the lane. You can, and guys can learn eventually to do that. But if you have 100 players, you would much rather have, probably 60 players have to learn that. And then there are 40 players that just know it. They just feel it. And that Michigan team feels like a group, like what basically Matt Painter was saying right there. Mara's probably a guy that learned it, but the rest of the guys just naturally feel it. And you just have that sixth sense about you. And that's the difference. In a game of milliseconds, that's the difference. And then once Purdue got down, and the Michigan, I was saying earlier today, Michigan's basketball team reminds me a little bit of Indiana's football team. That game last night reminded me a little bit of an Indiana football game. Because Indiana, from a football standpoint this year, when you watched them, you'd watch a game, they pounce on a mistake, and they get up 7-0. You go, okay. Then they're sound, and they get a defensive stop, and they come down and they score, and they're up 10-0. And you get up and go to the bathroom, and you come back, and they're up 17-3. And before you know it, like mid-second quarter, you're like, this game's over. The clock alone is on their side. And Michigan kind of felt that way last night. It was a close game. It's like 11-10. Purdue's leading. Michigan goes on a run, and before you know it, you're down 10, and there's never coming back. I mean, Purdue made their runs, but they were never able to fully bounce back from it. So that's a darn good team. And for Purdue, my worry now is truly, and I think they are a very good team, but I really thought going into the year that Purdue was I was certain that with the Final Four being here in Indy and Purdue was going to be here, and I started literally Sugar Plum Fairy started dancing in my head of the how cool it was going to be to have a local team and local buzz with the Final Four. Final Four is going to be great anyway, and all of the Division I, Division II, it's all going to be here. It's going to be an unbelievable March of basketball, late March of basketball, early April, whatever it is, of basketball here in Central Indiana. But I really did think Purdue was going to be there, and now I'm not so certain because they just look like a second weekend but Elite Eight ceiling team. I could be wrong, right?
I mean, they're one of those teams, Jake, that I don't want to see it for Purdue, but they could get bounced in the second round depending on the matchup because some of the problems that you're starting to see are their inability to kind of keep the ball in front of them. They're having trouble staying in front of somebody.
Right.
Matt Painter talked about it last night after the win, just like they're constantly in chase mode. And if you look at the games during that 3-game stretch, they had trouble defending the 3-point line, and you and I were wondering, will they ever kind of deviate from that 2-big lineup just because you're going to have to put Trey Kaufman-Wren on the perimeter, and either he's going to sag off of somebody and they're going to get an open 3 over him, or he's going to get up to pressure the ball and he's going to get drove by. And next thing you know, everyone's in constant help, and Oscar Clough doesn't really have the foot speed to kind of stay in front of anybody and cut off those straight line drives to the basket. And additionally, they just don't have the shooting that we expected going into the year.
I would agree with that.
Like, there hasn't been much development on Jakari Harris, CJ Cox, or any of those guys. And you go into any given night now, and you have to wonder, okay, who's going to be the third player? Who's going to be that third scorer? Like, you anticipate and expect it to be Fletcher Lawyer with his, with all the experience that he's got, but you can't count on him on a night-to-night basis.
Now, here's the thing. For Purdue, and I mentioned it, you talked about it, Eddie. If you look at Purdue and their big matchups this year, their big games this year, and I think there were a lot of people, myself included, who looked at Purdue at the outset of the season and thought they were I really did think they were the best team in the country. But now you've got home losses to the 3 of the best that they played. Iowa State, Illinois, Michigan. We'll hear from Matt Painter later in the show on what that could mean or what that could forecast for them in March. Let me get to the second area where I was wrong. I was wrong. And it never became more true than last night that I was wrong. And I should have listened to context clues. I should have paid attention. The movie The Sixth Sense, if you've not seen it, my apologies. You've had 30 years to see it, so spoiler alert here, okay? There's a big hook at the end of the movie in The Sixth Sense. With Bruce Willis.
Dead people.
Correct. You've seen that one, right?
No, I just know the reference there.
Okay. Big hook at the end of the movie. Do you know the big hook at the end of the movie, Eddie?
No.
Well, this will be something fun that we can do a double feature when you come over to watch Shawshank. At the end of the movie, there's a big surprise revealed, and then you look back and you go, oh, I should have seen the context clues. They were screaming at me. Same is true of what I'm about to say. I really did think this time a year ago. I don't recall where the epiphany came or how I led into it or what I said about it. But it was around this time a year ago when we knew that Indiana was going to be looking for a new head coach. And I said, you know what? Mick Cronin at UCLA feels the part. Here's a guy that coached in the Midwest, that preaches defense, that's a disciplinarian. Boy, he's got Indiana written all over him. He's got Indiana written all over him. But one of the things about coaching at Indiana, coaching at Purdue, coaching at Michigan, but notably Indiana, Kentucky, Kansas, for that matter, UCLA, you can know the game. You can know X's and O's. But what you need to know is control. By control, I mean you have to control the situation and you have to control the narrative. And you have to understand the expectation that comes with the pressure cooker jobs of a big-time Big Ten job, but notably at a school that has had 5 national championships, the most recent one nearly 40 years ago, and a fan base that still believes that that is a rite of passage that you're going to get number 6 here soon. That's a lot. It's a lot to handle. And at the time that I was looking at Mick Cronin, I thought, this guy looks like he could be the guy. And I had him on a radio show. I interviewed him on a previous radio show that I did with Derek Schultz, and we interviewed Mick Cronin. And I always forget, Mick Cronin was at Cincinnati, not Xavier, correct?
Yes,
always
you're
get
correct.
he and
Chris Mack was at Xavier.
Chris Mack and Mick Cronin, I always get confused.
Yeah.
But Mick Cronin, when he was at Xavier, was a really good, or at Cincinnati, was a really good coach, and he had Lance Stevenson. And so when Lance Stevenson was with the Pacers, we interviewed him, and he was great. He was a super cool guy. He was friendly. He was gregarious. He was great. So what I'm about to say is not necessarily to say that it truly, authentically is who he is. But last night, UCLA has another game where they go on the road and they get absolutely blasted. UCLA at this point is they're basically the Possums, right? They play dead at home and they get killed on the road. Okay? So UCLA last night goes to Michigan State. Xavier Booker is a player for UCLA out of Cathedral that was a former Michigan State top 5-star recruit. This is why recruiting is an inexact science, because he's now on his second school and he's averaging 7 points and 5 boards a game. A nice player, I assume, nice kid, but people thought he was going to be a one-and-done. Inexact science recruiting. But UCLA goes to Michigan State. Michigan State, the student section starts chanting to Xavier Booker and, whatever else. After the game, and there's a reason I'm bringing all this up. This is Mick Cronin after the game and addressing in the hallway, answering reporters' questions about the game. And he was asked about the reception his player, a former Spartan, got while back in East Lansing. And then even more indication that I should have seen from the Sixth Sense. Here we go.
What was your thoughts in the student section chanting Booker's name?
I could give a rat's ass about the other team's student section.
I just meant the overall the way that you.
I would like to give you a kudos for the worst question I've ever been asked.
All right, I'll take it.
Did you like
You should take it.
the preparation of the?
Do you really think I care about the other team's
No, I don't.
student
I don't
section?
think you care about the other.
Are you
team.
raising your voice at me?
No, I'm just.
Yeah, you are.
talking.
Yeah, you are. Come on, dude.
No reason.
Come on. Yes, you are. Everybody's standing here listening to you. Everybody. This is on camera. They can hear you. I answered the question. I could give a rat's ass about the other team's student section. I coach UCLA. I don't care about Michigan State students. I mean, who cares?
Okay, this is a guy right now that is letting the world know. He's letting the world know that I don't know if it's Napoleonic complex. I don't know if it's just an inferiority complex. I respect his basketball knowledge and some of the coaching that he's done in the past. And I appreciate that the time that I interviewed him, he was a really nice guy. And that probably at his core is who he is. But in the pressure cooker situation of a job like that, this guy right there acted like a complete jackass. And in that situation, I'm sorry, when you're the head coach at UCLA, you're the head coach at Kentucky, you're the head coach at North Carolina, you're the head coach at Purdue, Indiana, UCLA, there is an expectation that comes with it. And if you can't stand that heat, get out. Get out. Go do something else. Go back to Cincinnati. Go coach somewhere else. Don't sit here and put the pressures that are on you and the failures that your team has had. Don't put that on everybody else. Everything is everybody else's fault with this guy. It's the fault of the Big Ten for scheduling UCLA to have to fly all the way across the country. Guess what? You know who knew that was going to happen? Everyone, right? Everyone. Everyone knew that was going to happen. Guess what? Teams actually have to come all the way out west and make a long trip to play you as well. So when Indiana has a 3-game trip out west and they're coming off of a game against USC and then they go into UCLA, and I can't remember which way it was, if they went to UCLA first or USC first, but either way, Indiana goes all the way out to the West Coast and it's double overtime. You should win that game. And you still lost. Is it a terrible logistical nightmare for Washington, Oregon, UCLA, and USC, and they're like a combined 6-19 outside the Pacific time zone so far this year? Yeah. But everyone knew that was going to be the case. And when UCLA played in Assembly Hall and played in Bloomington a year ago, and I watched that game, and then afterwards I talked to people from inside Indiana that basically said, look, we watched pretty closely the way that guy interacts on the bench with his players and his staff. And there are some red flags there. And that shows it right there. Because that guy right there, are you raising your voice at me? What are you talking about? Are you raising your voice to me? That guy wasn't raising his voice. He was speaking up so that he could be heard because there were more people talking, and that's what you do in a scrum like that. I've been in 1,000 of them. A couple people are trying to ask questions at the same time, so you elevate a little bit, and then there's just kind of this, it's like a weird flow of traffic thing where suddenly you just figure out which one is going to merge in first. But that guy is showing every single sign of not being able to handle the pressure at UCLA. At UCLA. Do you know what the expectations are at UCLA? I mean, sure, John Wooden coached there and won championships 40 years ago. But since then, like most people at UCLA, their biggest concern about the basketball team is whether or not the game is going to be over by the time there's a late high tide where they can go get some more surfing in.
High tide.
High
tide.
Honestly, like that. If you've ever been on the UCLA campus, it's 72 degrees. Every blade of grass is green and perfectly manicured. Like life is good. There's a breeze coming through. There ain't no pressure at UCLA.
Let me ask you this, Jake. Is he talking like a guy who is trying to get fired because he has some issues with how things have transpired over the last handful of years at UCLA, and he knows that if he goes down this path of just childlike behavior and inappropriate behavior, that's going to force UCLA's hand with a $22.5 million buyout?
Yes, he's sounding that way, but I don't think that's it. I honestly think it's a guy that has, and again, in order to be in that job, you have to have an understanding of X's and O's. He has that. You have to have an ability, and I will give him credit. He ejected one of his own players from the game after a cheap foul late in the game. You have to have a discipline about you. I give him credit there. Kudos to him for that. But you also have to have a control, not just of the narrative in the moment, but also of yourself. Bob Knight didn't have a control of himself. He didn't. But he knew how to control the situations and the speculation and the analysis of what he was doing. That guy, and in that situation, you know, Cronin with the whole, like, are you raising your voice at me? Like trying to, who are you, dude? You just got beat by 30. and your team is grossly underperforming. So is he calculatedly trying to get fired? I don't know. But what I know is this. What I know is to localize that aspect of it, he is a guy that I thought was a candidate at Indiana, and now I can say, thank goodness he wasn't. Because if you can't handle that kind of pressure at UCLA, zero chance you can handle it at Indiana, who have the most delusional fan base of reality of placement of their program in 2026 of anybody in college basketball. ESPN had a report of, or rather a column, players with each franchise that are in need of a change. And there's one of them, just 110 miles down the road, that has been consistently linked to the Colts. And if that player needs a change and he brings to the table something in Trey Hendrickson that the Colts desperately need, and there's familiarity with the coaching staff, does that mean it could still again be revisited that he lands here? Or are the Bengals going to do everything they can, franchise tag, to keep him? Charlie Clifford, who is a proud Miami Red Hawk, and his team is undefeated, but is also covering Red Spring training and on top of that Bengals story, going to join us next. Hey there, it's Jake Query. You know, we were talking about fall spring. Guess what? That means time is now to start thinking about the mini marathon, which I'll be doing for a 15th year this year. And thank you so much to Game Day Men's Health for helping me get back in that game. I'm talking about peptide therapies, meaning recovery. I feel it already. I can feel the difference in terms of my recovery time, less soreness. One of the benefits from Game Day Men's Health and their clinics in the Indy area, Avon, Carmel, Fishers, Greenwood. Just 1 hour it takes to go into Game Day Men's Health, your consultation, find out whether it is testosterone therapy you're interested in, the peptide therapy, maybe weight loss therapy, any number of things to help you guys get back in the game with the specific game plan designed for you. That's what I love. Not only that, but of course, FDA-approved pharmacies ensuring safety in terms of everything that goes through with each process of what you're getting. Game Day Men's Health. Locations, again, in the Indy metro area. Avon, Carmel, Fishers, and Greenwood. You can find them online at GameDayMen'sHealth.com. Look for that consultation. Set up an appointment to find out how you can get yourself back in the game. Get that energy boost again. GameDayMen'sHealth.com.
You're listening to Query and Company on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Now, we do this every time, Eddie, but each time a song from Fast Times is played, we try to remember what scene it was played. Do you remember this particular, which scene is this?
That's the school, first day.
This is the first day of school?
Yeah.
So the opening scene is We Got the Beat, and then
Yes.
it goes into this for the first day of school.
Yes.
The toilet paper flying and all that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You know, I watched the. I shouldn't say this. I watched like 30 minutes of Fast Times last night. That sounds kind of like I got a problem because it's But
Which
I watched
30 minutes?
right around the time when Hamilton's got to take the stuff to the boys at IBM, and he decides to Hamilton, you're going over there as a representative of Captain Hook's Fish and Chips. Part of our brand, part of our image is that uniform. You know that. You really want me to put it back on, sir? Yes, I do. Aye, aye, sir. Show a little pride. That was the scene that I saw. Now, it's a confession hump day Wednesday. I confess to the fact that I was wrong about Mick Cronin. I confess to the fact that I was wrong about Michigan and the way that game went and Michigan's ability to shoot from the outside and what a dagger that was for Purdue. Eddie, anything you'd like to confess today?
Yeah, I would like to confess I had the time mix up there with Charlie Clifford, formerly of Wish TV, now in NBC5 in Cincinnati. Yeah.
So that is, you said, because you told me you were all excited. I came in and you said,
Yeah.
I can't wait till 12:30. Charlie Clifford's going to join us at 12:30. And I like Charlie. I miss him
mean-
from when he was at Channel 8, and he's going to be at 12:30 today. So just remember, Jake, that when you go to break, you want to be sure to be back by 12:30. And
Okay, now you're overplaying it.
and I'm diligent about this. I'm looking right here at my notes, 12:30.
Oh,
Charlie
yeah.
Clifford.
Very
I
diligent.
am.
Yeah.
I am an on-task guy.
Diligent, yeah.
Listen, when I set my mind to something, and I don't know if you haven't. Did you see Back to the Future?
Yes.
Okay.
I've
In
seen
Back to the Future, you may recall that George McFly, when the books arrive, what does he say to Marty? When you put your mind to it, you can accomplish anything, right? When you put your mind to it, you can accomplish anything. Like, for example, and I have an update for you, okay? This from Eric and Fishers, okay? Hey, Jake, Eric and Fishers. I asked my son this morning how the QR movement was going at his school. And he said, not a thing yet, Dad. Now, here's the thing.
No,
Yet.
you're lying.
Yet.
You are lying. I'm looking at the same text on the 317-239-1070 text line.
Right.
Hi, Jake. Eric from Fishers. I asked
Right.
my son this morning how the QR movement was going
Right.
at his school, and Eddie would appreciate this response.
Right.
It's not a thing, Dad.
No. Yet. Not
There
a
is
thing
no
Dad.
yet. It
There
says
is on
it's
this one.
not a thing.
No, there is here.
Dad.
Not a thing yet.
Period.
Dad. Matter
Quote.
of time. Because when you put your mind to it, you can accomplish anything, right? So, based on that, okay, when you put your mind to it, Eddie, you can get it right that it's 2:30 for Charlie Clifford and not 12:30.
Yeah,
right?
because he's in mountain time.
So you see in Mountain, he's at spring training for the Reds?
Yeah, he's in Goodyear, Arizona. Yeah.
Oh, that's right outside the racetrack,
Yeah.
right next to the Phoenix International Raceway. What do you think the temperature is over there today? You think it's warmer here or there? It's supposed to be 66 today, right?
67.
That's what it is there?
68 today. I'll look it up.
Charlie Clifford, 2:30 today. We also have tickets to give away to the Dave Matthews Band. That is going to be June 26th at Ruoff Music Center.
61 and overcast.
In Arizona?
Yeah, feels like 50 because there's some wind.
See? So we're doing better in Arizona, right?
Yeah.
What the hell is he going there for?
Well,
Why
that's
not just
where Ellie
hang
De La
out
Show
here?
is.
Huh?
That's where Ellie De La Show is.
Yeah, but I mean, you can watch that on the iPad. Enjoy the weather here.
No, you can't.
What are you hopping on a bird heading down to Arizona just to try to get yourself some sun? You got it right here. Well, all the sun you need. Sit out here in our parking
Why
lot.
not Indiana?
It's like Cancun out here. Why not Indiana's exactly correct. Thank you. Trademarked, by the way. In what form or fashion are we going to give away our Dave Matthews tickets?
That's a good question. We should probably have had a pre-show meeting about that.
Here's what I think we should do. I think coming up in 8 minutes, we should just do a get to know your listener segment.
Okay.
And see who, but I need a compelling reason. I need a compelling reason why. And Dave Matthews, people go crazy for the Dave Matthews concert, right?
Marching ants?
They go nuts for it. It's a rite of passage to people. The Dave Matthews concerts for that, it's like Indy 500s. People know exactly how many they've been to. How many Dave shows you've been to? 38. This will be my 39th show. Like they keep a track of it. I've seen him 7 places. They start to play a certain song, and people, oh my gosh, they haven't played this since Tulsa in 17. People get all into it. So if we're going to give away 2, not 1, but 2 pair of Dave Matthews tickets for June 26th at Ruoff, that'll be here before you know it. Then I think we should do that in the form of get to know your listener, but you have to tell me the compelling reason why you should go. And I don't mean like, I don't want to hear like, I don't know. I mean, I went to college with a guy named Dave. That doesn't count. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that doesn't count. So yeah, we can do that. Did you see this yesterday, Jake? I'm sure you did. So, speaking of something that's right around the corner, or I guess I should say, in this case, 2 weeks from Sunday, as you would know, IndyCar season starts, but they had some open testing yesterday at Phoenix to kind of tie 2 things together. David Malukas of now Team Penske in that number 12 machine, fastest time yesterday. When you think about just like storylines going into the IndyCar season, I keep forgetting that Malukas is now with Team Penske.
Correct.
And Will Power, after that phenomenal, I don't know if you've seen it commercially yet, with him, he's with Andretti Global.
Now, did you also notice on the speed chart where go down about 5 spots below Malukas, and there's Power. Power, I think, was he not like 5th or 6th? I think. I could be wrong on that speed chart. David Malukas, for those that don't know, is really talented. And he was really talented when he came up through the ranks in terms of Indy Lights, Indy Next, as it's now known. And there was a lot of praise and expectation about him. And he got into the series, and he made fans very early, because not only is he a good personality and a younger guy from the Chicago area, but also kind of an underdog story, and a guy that in lesser equipment had races where he was chasing down bigger teams and hanging in there and, showing a lot of moxie. And that allowed him the opportunity to sign with kind of the dream ride of Arrow McLaren. And he had signed with Arrow McLaren, and it was like, okay, this is now the emergence. This is the arrival of David Malukas. And then in a biking accident, he broke his wrist. He missed a number of races, which contractually he was he had to make a certain minimum number of races. He was not able to make those races, and as a result, McLaren let him out. He was relieved of his contract. And then he went and drove for a couple of different teams to kind of keep his name in there, and eventually landed the opportunity. At the end of last year, we knew it was going to be that he was going to be this year with Penske and driving in the car that is vacated by Will Power, by Power going to Andretti Global. And so there is a lot of expectation on Malukas. The question is going to be kind of like what we talked about with Mick Cronin. It's a different level of noise once you get to Penske, a different expectation, a different barometer, and a different bell that needs to be answered. And I think he's certainly capable of it, but he's a young guy.
Yeah, they're doing an opening test right now until 2 o'clock, and Rossi, Newgarden, Paloma, Lucas, Kirkwood, your top 5. So he's up there in the top 5 again. This how it stands right now.
This from David. Hey, Jake, did I miss it? What's the snow update on the parking lot? We went over this earlier, but Eddie, where do we stand? The over-under was the 17th. You took the under.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So technically you won the bet. We just need to tweet out a video of some sort on the show Twitter of like one of either you or me or both of us or whatever doing a walk around the parking lot.
Yeah, I mean, we're close here. We're close. But
yeah.
There's still remnant, right?
There was very, 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 very little. Very little. I'm afraid with how warm it is out there and the sun beating down on the pavement that by the time the show's over, it'll all be gone.
You think so?
I think so.
I don't know, man. The far western corner, which we can't see necessarily from right here, but that's where there's one little mogul left, right? Is it mobile or mogul? What do they say when you're skiing?
I think it's mogul.
Does that mean that those are the little mounds that are of influence and wealth? Aren't those moguls also?
I think so.
So you're a real estate mogul or a snow mogul? Is it? I think it's mobile. Do we know?
Can I be both?
I guess. All right, Dave Matthews tickets to give away. Other side, 239-1070, the telephone number. But you got to tell me why You want to go on June 26th at Ruoff. We will get into that. Then later on the show, we're going to talk to one of the best coaches in college basketball in the state of Indiana. Not because of the X's and O's, but I was looking at this guy's record and said, there's got to be a hidden secret here. There's got to be something. What is it that this coach does that we all can learn from? That conversation coming up 2 o'clock. David Woods, the little Olympic chat coming up bottom of the 1 o'clock hour as well. Query Company on the Fan.
This is Query and Company on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Now, I've had numerous people point out to me that apparently American Girl with Tom Petty is also in Silence of the Lambs. And I don't know this, but if hearing that song makes you think of the Silence of the Lambs over Fast Times, that's a sign of a mental disorder. I'm fairly certain, right?
I haven't seen that movie, so I wouldn't know.
Silence of the Lambs?
Nope.
Well, you can have a friend over for dinner. Watch that. Okay, we have tickets to give away June 26th.
I only have one friend.
Huh?
I only have one friend, and I don't know.
Well, you don't want to have him for dinner Silence of the Lambs fashion, or else then you got none. I can just tell you that.
Okay.
Okay, who do we have lined up here for the big phone calls? And I need to know why people need to go see Dave Matthews.
We've got Chris, Francesca, Nick, Scott, and Nathan.
Oh, hold on. Did you say Francesca?
Francesca.
Do we know, is that a female, Francesca?
Yes.
Do you happen to have the breaking news sounder ready?
Well, do we know if Francesca has called into the program before we hit the
Very
breaking
good
news
question.
sounder?
Let's go to Francesca, who joins us on the show. Hi, Francesca. How are you?
Hi, good. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. First off, this is Query and Company here. Have you called the program before, Francesca?
I have never called before, no.
Okay. You sound like a nice gal. Is your radio broken, or are you listening to this show on purpose?
I'm listening to the show on purpose. My husband listens every day, so I've been listening by default for a while now.
By default. We find, Francesca, that 90% of our listeners, it's by default. You know what I mean? Now, just out of curiosity, but everything is okay, right? You're not being forced against your will to do anything, correct?
Absolutely not. No, I was just talking to my husband on the way. We went to grab some lunch, and I was like, I should call. I listen enough, but I've never won. I should call and see if I could win some tickets.
Okay. Now, what's your husband's name?
His name is Zach.
Zach. Okay. It's not Zach Kiefer, is it?
Nope, Zach Sponsel.
Okay. Is he anything like that Zach Morris from Saved by the Bell?
He has an Uncle Zach Morris.
Wow. Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right. Francesca, I'd like to know this. Are you a fan of the Dave Matthews Band?
Yes, you're God, I'm a fan. I've been going with my mom and cousins since I was 15, and I will be 34 this year.
Okay, so you've been to how many shows? I mean, quick math would say 19, unless you've been to more or less than one per summer, right?
Exactly. I would say at least 20 shows.
Do you find that all of his songs sound the same?
Not to a true Dave fan.
Oh, I'll tell you what, right there, that might have sold me, the true Dave fan aspect of it. All right, Francesca, last question would be this. Since you're a listener of the program, and Eddie, we can now officially, Francesca, bear with us, can we play the breaking news sounder, please? This just in, 40 female listeners. We've hit the big 4-0. Calbert Cheney, 4-0. What's that, Eddie?
39.
39.
39, yes.
Did we lose one?
No, we were at 38.
Are you sure?
Yes. And we didn't gain one since 2 days ago.
Francesca, do you prefer to be number 39 or number 40?
I think 40 sounds better, but
See, I'm going Francesca. Listen, she knows how many Dave shows she's been to, for crying out loud, Eddie. We got to go with her judgment here. We're going with 40. We might have cheated a little bit there. All right, Francesca, June 26th. Now you've been listening to this show for how long?
At least 3 years.
I thought you were going to say, 15, 20 minutes easily. All right, Francesca, hang on the line. We'll get your information, and we will make sure that you are now on your way to show number 20. Show number 20. All right, who's next on the big program here, Eddie?
We have Chris, Nick, Scott, and Nathan. I will let you pick.
Well, you said Chris first. It looks like he might have been the first to call in. Chris, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, Jake?
I'm good. Chris, if you had to guess, would you say Francesca actually is female listener number 39 or 40? Have you been keeping tabs on this number by any chance?
I would go with 40.
See, there you go. All right, Chris, the benefit of the doubt is what I'm looking for here. So you're well earned there. Have you called the show before, Chris?
I have.
You have. Okay. And that was to say that you like or don't like the program?
Oh, I love the program.
Okay. What line of work are you in, Chris?
I am an independent contractor for Little Debbie.
Oh, wow. Yeah, what about those? Now, let me ask you, the oatmeal cream pies, I've noticed they're going to just the double-decker these days. Do they still make just the single serving there?
Oh, yeah. The single servings are the ones you buy in the stores. The double-deckers are the ones you get at the gas station.
Ah, gotcha. Okay. Now, how about the Star Crunch? They still doing that?
They still do those.
Okay. And did you find when you were a kid that even before you were working for Little Debbie that it was difficult to watch Charlie Brown because of the Dolly Madison ads?
Yeah.
Yeah. Still to this day, that peeves you, doesn't it?
Yes.
Okay. And how long as an independent contractor have you been working for the LD?
I was with them. I've been with them for 2 years now. Before that, I was I'm part of your company. I was with Pepsi, and I was the director of refreshments.
Okay, so now you're just the director of snacks, which is fine. Last question, and then I promise we'll be done talking about Little Debbie, but I'm a little obsessed with it. Where is Little Debbie based? Do you know? What's the headquarters? Where does Little Debbie live?
Collegedale, Tennessee.
Collegedale, Tennessee. All right, fair enough. Chris, are you a fan of Dave Matthews?
I am a fan, but my wife is a bigger fan, and that's the reason that I need these tickets, because our anniversary is 2 weeks after the show, and this would be perfect because I love to make my wife happy.
But her name's not Debbie, is it?
It is not.
Okay, because then it'd be bigger fan Debbie along with Little Debbie. Okay, so your wife is the bigger fan, and you've been married for how long?
It'll be 11 years.
11 years, you said. Okay, all right. Well, I'll tell you what. When is your anniversary?
July 18th.
Well, you're going to be 3 weeks prior to the anniversary celebrating your then 12-year anniversary, because on June 26th, we will send you to Ruoff to go see the Dave Matthews Band, and just go ahead and splurge for the celebration and enjoy a double-decker oatmeal cream pie while you're doing it, right? Where did Chris go? Eddie, did you mute Chris there?
I thought you were done, because as you say, Jake, you pay attention to the sheet I gave you with, the listings of when you need to hit your timeouts, and you are overtime.
Well, but Chris is worth the overtime.
Okay.
Right?
Or is it Little Debbie that's worth the overtime? I don't know.
Well, that too, right? And I mean, you could certainly make your own joke about some of the euphemisms there. But all right, Chris, enjoy. All right, happy anniversary to you.
Appreciate it.
All right, that's how we do it. When we come back, LeBron James had some interesting things to say. I know, Jake, this is an Indianapolis radio program. Why are you telling me about LeBron James? He's never played for the Pacers. I'm tired of him. He's over 40. He's continuing. No, I get it. But he did say something very interesting about one of the most beloved athletes in this town. We'll let you hear it next.
Query and Company on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
You know, I hate to admit it. But this song does kind of bang. I know that it's listed as the worst song ever recorded by like Billboard magazine, but there's no way you can't kind of groove with it, right? Once they bring in that traffic report, I mean, I just lose my mind. Turn it up, rip off the knob, right? It is a gorgeous day out on this Hump Day Wednesday. How are you? My name is Jake Query. Eddie Garrison is the other voice you hear on this program. We call it Query and Company. They had a 9-hour meeting to come up with the name of this show.
9.
Now, let me ask you something, Eddie. Somebody pointed this out to me yesterday, and I thought, now that's right there, that's an excellent point. An excellent point. Yesterday, we were talking about movies that you've not seen, right?
Yep.
Now, I don't know if I'm catching you in a lie here.
Okay.
But when I just said 9, the number 9, and you, what did you say?
I did the thing that you normally do when you say 9. 9.
9 times.
Yeah. I don't know what that's in reference to. I just copy you sometimes.
So, now hold on. I'm going to call bluff here. Let me ask you this. Have you ever heard this phrase? Okay.
Okay.
Yesterday, for those that are unfamiliar, I was mentioning some movies of yesteryear, and Eddie was saying that he had never seen any of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I wondered if there was legitimacy to that, or if, in fact, Eddie was simply being intentionally obstinate. So let me ask you this. Have you ever heard this phrase? Okay?
Okay.
Hey, bada, swing, bada.
Well, yes, I've heard it at every Little League park in America.
But have you ever heard it in this way? Hey, bada, swing, bada. He did it, bada. Have you ever heard that?
No.
Okay, what about this? They think he's a righteous dude.
Only from GMV's Rejoiners.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, what about this? Boom, chicka chicka, ooh, mow, mow, dun, 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 dun.
No.
Chicka chicka, ooh, mow, mow. You never heard that?
Is that a song?
It is. I'm not doing a very good version of it, but yes, that is a song.
I've heard the song. I don't know where it's from.
So you have not seen Ferris Bueller's Day Off?
No.
Okay. So
Haven't seen The Breakfast Club. Haven't seen Sixth Sense. What was the 16 Candles? Pretty in Pink.
Pretty in Pink, you get understandable on that one.
Shawshank Redemption. Yeah, I haven't seen any of them.
Did you happen to see the video that was released earlier today of Ivica Zubac answering questions about his favorite things?
Yeah, did you see it was quick review or like rapid fire questions? I think is what it was called.
Do you happen to have those before we get to LeBron James talking about a Pacer?
I don't have them at the ready.
Let me send you. Let me send you this because this is very, very key. Okay, I think this is. I find this to be a fascinating little exercise, if you will. Okay. So it was on you could look it up. It was on the Pacers ex-post Twitter account. Okay. He was okay. This is, see if there are two answers that jump out at you here. This is getting to know your favorite center of the Pacers. Here we go.
Favorite color?
Brown.
Favorite animal?
Dog.
Favorite food?
Pasta.
Favorite dessert?
Tiramisu.
Favorite TV show?
Breaking Bad.
Favorite movie?
Shawshank Redemption.
Favorite musician?
I don't know. Guns N' Roses.
Yes. Okay.
Favorite
Eddie,
sport
stop
other
right
than
there.
basketball?
Right
Soccer.
there. This guy is the spirit animal of Query and Company. Shawshank Redemption.
Breaking Bad. Hell yeah.
Breaking Bad's good. It's good.
That's my cup of tea right there.
But Guns N' Roses, and listen, I've always said Guns N' Roses is the greatest band ever assembled, not in the Beatles. Oasis is right there with them, but I love Guns N' Roses. Guns N' Roses, we just gave away the tickets to Dave Matthews. I've been, as you know, I've seen Guns N' Roses. What would you guess is the number of times that I've seen Guns N' Roses? You're placing the over and under at what?
6.5.
I think it's going to be over. I've seen them in Indy 1, 2, 3 times in Indy, okay? Toronto once, Denver once, Chicago once, Cincinnati once, Las Vegas once. I think that's it. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8 times. But For a guy that grew up, is he Croatian, Zubats? I believe that's correct, right? For a guy that grew up overseas.
Croatian, yes.
Yes. And yet he's seen Shawshank before you.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
I've never been a big movie guy. Ever.
It's a great movie. So we'll have a quadruple header here. Of, it's kind of like back in the day when it was a rainy day and you were a kid in middle school.
It's
and
pretty
you'd go
50-50 on the people that reach out to me. Like, yeah, you're not missing a ton. I think it's an overrated movie. And I've got people that are like, have you not seen this? It's a great movie.
No.
Yep.
No, hold on. I don't dispute that there are people out there that think that Shawshank perhaps is overrated, because there are certain things in your defense that it gets to a point where you hear so much about it that it's difficult to live up to the hype. Blazing Saddles is the same for me, Eddie, in your defense. I had never seen Blazing Saddles. I had heard every line of Blazing Saddles in cultural reference 150 times. And people just go on and on about what a brilliantly hilarious movie Blazing Saddles is. So by the time I sat down to watch it, I basically had already created every scene in my mind because I'd heard about it. And I'm like, this is the lamest thing ever. And I thought Blazing Saddles was the most overrated, dumbest, lame movie ever. But I also was not seeing it with the advantage of like the almost uncomfortable shock value that would have made it funny the first go-round if you didn't know what you were getting into. The Godfather is one that when I saw The Godfather, I had not seen it until like 8 years ago. I was on a flight. And I'm not going to say I didn't enjoy it, but I found it kind of slow and just like, that's all I'd heard about my entire life. So I get that with that buildup, people could say then, well, gosh, it's overrated because you've heard about it all the time. But I'm going to guess that if you come over like middle school style and you buy a ticket for one movie and then you just hop from theater to theater until finally they discover it and they say, okay, kids, fun's over. If you came over and we did a marathon of 16 Candles, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and Shawshank, it'd be a little much to be around each other for that length of time. But I'm going to guess by Shawshank, you would say, okay, that was really, really good. Really, really good. Now, Tyrese Halliburton probably has time to watch these movies because, as we know, he's been out. And sometimes in the tough moments is when you really learn the reality of who someone is. Sometimes when the going gets tough is when people can show you the real colors. Mick Cronin, I mentioned off the top of the show. Very impressive win last night for Michigan over Purdue, and I confessed to the fact that I was wrong about Michigan's outside shooting. And the other thing I confessed about was Mick Cronin, I thought was a legitimate candidate at Indiana, and I thought would have been a good fit. And I was wrong. And people at Indiana told me that they had some caution or some concern, or hesitation because of just some of his demeanor. And I thought that was overrated. I thought that probably wasn't the case. And then now, as the pressure cooker of the UCLA job and the expectation that goes with being at a once proud program is continuing to show itself, I think Mick Cronin is kind of showing his colors as, frankly, a guy that's only happy when he's miserable, right? Tyrese Halliburton, when he was acquired by the Pacers, and you've heard me mention this before, but I'll never forget talking to an executive with the organization about Halliburton. And it was right when it was at the press conference when it was announced that Halliburton had gotten a max deal. And you always have concern, always, in any walk of life, no matter what it might be. There are always areas of concern of how a player or person reacts once everything then is finally there. I talked the other day, I did a podcast with a guy, and he was asking me about back when I was working at the cigar store, and I'd work every day from 10 to 5 at Hardwick's Pipe and Tobacco. Great job. Loved every minute of it. And then I would go in at night into Channel 6 and just cut tape and mix coffee and do whatever, tear scripts for Ed Sorensen, whatever needed to be done. And I loved it. I loved the buzz and the activity and the ramp up of when the news was about to go on and all this. It was like a beehive in there, and I loved being a part of it. And I had vision of where I wanted to be. I didn't know any idea how to get there on the roadmap, but I didn't make any money. A lot of my friends were already starting and launching very successful careers, and I was basically, eating ramen noodles. And it wasn't necessarily, it was frustrating in the moment, but I look back on it now and I think to myself, that was the most fun I've ever had because the chase was the fun. The chase was the fun. And so now I have to come up with different ways to invigorate myself of chase. And you never know with professional athletes sometimes whether it's all about the chase for them, and then once they get the huge contract, some guys, they're good. Okay, I got it. I got to this point, I'm good. And I was asking someone within the Pacers office about whether or not there was concern of that with Tyrese Halliburton, as there is with any player. And we certainly have seen in this market players that you invested emotionally and financially into a player, hoping that it would go one way and then finding out that, in fact, they were another. And even if you weren't the one that had signed that big contract, you put resources in to get that player. Victor Oladipo comes to mind. Paul George comes to mind. And Paul George wasn't one that had gotten the big deal, or the big deal, and he's had several since. But you just never knew. And so there was always a PTSD about Tyrese Halliburton, or for the Pacers, I should say, with me. Not about Halliburton personally, but, hey, I've been down this road before. And how do I know this guy is going to want to stay here and find marriage with the city of Indianapolis and the fan base of the Pacers? And then the injury happened. And the true measure of somebody oftentimes is the way that they respond to adversity. And the colors that they show in the downtime is a real indicator sometimes of what the true colors are. And Halliburton's injury will be the biggest what if probably in this city's history until the Pacers win a title. And even then, it will still be a big what if. The Colts won a title. They won a Super Bowl. But it does not erase the fact that people still talk about the what if Nick Harper had not been stabbed in the thigh just prior to trying to run away from Ben Roethlisberger. And what would have happened? And Halliburton's injury, when I watched the starting five on Netflix and I saw the behind the scenes of him in the locker room, and it took me right back to that moment. And I can't imagine being him. But there's so many reasons to believe that this guy, and understand and justify if this guy at that point would have just regressed emotionally. And we don't know what he's going to be like as a player. We haven't seen him on the floor yet. We don't know. We don't know. We won't know until probably 6 months after he's playing. But I'm lucky enough and grateful enough to be at virtually every Pacer game. And I'm fortunate in that regard. But I watch Halliburton a lot. And I watch him during the timeouts. And I watch him in the hallway when kids are lined up. And the energy and the enthusiasm and the smile and the optimism has never waned. And it would be totally understandable and justifiable and excused if he began to sulk and he began to just kind of wallow away and hide behind the despair and the cloud and the disappointment of what happened or didn't happen in that Game 7. That was his moment. That was his game. That was his day. That was the day that Tyrese Halliburton was going to go out and he was going to become an instant, regardless of what happened moving forward, beloved legend for eternity in this town. And he was on his way to that. And they were going to win that game. And it was going to be a Halliburton game. But the basketball gods intervened. or basketball devils, depending on which way you look at it. And yet, when I asked about that question, what the executive said to me was, this guy's different. He lifts everyone in the room when he walks in, and he has an enthusiasm about him that is contagious, and it makes everyone better. And I thought, that's some really fancy lip gloss, lip service that I'm being given. I didn't know Halliburton. I still don't know him as a person per se, but I can see it from afar. And in that moment, I thought, okay, they can tell me that, but he's a young guy. He just got a big contract. Life's good for him. Everything's going great. He's got a second lease on life now in Indiana after getting over the disappointment of being traded away from Sacramento. And I thought about all of those things and thought, it's easy to say that about anybody in this moment. But it has absolutely been apparent in everything that I've been fortunate enough to observe and hear about from other people in the dark moments. In the dark moments, he's been the light. And that's why he's worth the money. But that's not to say that you still have to see what happens when he's going to be back on the floor. And he's had an opportunity now for an entire season to watch and observe. He did it during the Olympics for a great extent. He watched. But he was around and surrounded by great players better than he. It's been a long time probably since he's been on the floor and not been the best player on his team or the top 2 or 3. And Siakam's a wonderful player. And I love Neesmith and I love Toppin and all of them. But he is the straw mixing the drink, make no bone about it. But LeBron James recently did a podcast, Mind the Game Pod, and was talking about Tyrese Halliburton. And say what you want about LeBron James. I know he's not the most popular and beloved figure. I know he's a polarizing guy. I know at this point there is certainly a LeBron fatigue. I know that we get tired of hearing the constant discussions and debate and analysis of LeBron versus MJ and et cetera, et cetera. I get all that. I get it. And I get in this town, one of the things that's been frustrating about being a Pacer fan since the beginning of time is their 2 best eras of team. The first one just happened to coincide with the peak Jordan years, and the other happened to coincide with the peak LeBron Miami years. And then now, of course, the opportunity and the injury. But LeBron was asked about Tyrese Halliburton and how he would characterize the personality, the traits, and the things that Tyrese Halliburton, maybe even an injury, can become even more so than he was before.
Student of the game.
Yeah,
I think a lot of people, a lot of our viewers that watch Mind the Game, and even people that maybe don't watch it, that now, were fans of Tyrese, they got an opportunity just to know, like, not only why, but how special he is and what he does on the floor and how it translated because of this, and his love. His love for the game is you could hear it in his voice, you could hear it in his message. It was, he's a great kid. It's my first time spending an extended period of time with him during the Olympics, Olympic trip, and definitely one of my favorite teammates coming out of that whole experience. Just a, unbelievable kid, man, and I love everything that's coming his way. He's special.
Okay, that was Steve Nash he was talking with, by the way. But I think that says a lot right there, and more so the reason that is significant. Players pay attention. Young players in particular pay attention. They listen. And they look up to LeBron James. Yeah, there's probably some fatigue factor. And yes, there are probably plenty that when it comes to LeBron are like Jordan's better or Steph's better or Kobe Bryant's better, whatever, which is all asinine. It is my opinion that LeBron James is the most versatilely skilled player in the history of basketball. I think you could say Jordan's the best competitor to play the game. I personally think LeBron James, I did not see Wilt Chamberlain, and Wilt Chamberlain would be in this category. But in terms of being elite in every way that you need to be elite, LeBron brings as wide an arsenal as anybody in basketball. But that's irrelevant to this point other than to say this. Players right now that are young players in the NBA, and there are plenty of them, that you don't. The number of games that I go to and I look at the program and I'm looking at the opponent, and some guy averaging 17 a game that's 6'7" with a 7'2" wingspan. And I'm like, man, I know I've heard that name. Oh, that's right. That's a one and done out of Duke from 2 years ago. Oh, that's right. He played a year at Kentucky 4 years ago. Oh, I do remember now. I saw him play in the Sweet 16 when Kansas was upset by Arkansas, but he was just coming into his own. And the number of young players like that, and that's not to say that the Pacers, who have a really good roster, and they have a general manager and an executive and a president of basketball operations that both have put together a really good roster of veterans and young players alike. And so they probably are not in need in terms of going out and scouring through free agency and trying to find pieces because they've got a pretty good core already. But in the event that Indiana, which was always thought to be a non-destination city for NBA players, now you look at it and you say, okay, the Pacers might have something here because they have a player that and say what you want, fans can say what they want about LeBron. The reality is the young players in the league look up to LeBron more so than probably any other player currently in the league. Steph Curry, maybe. Durant, I think they love his skill set. But LeBron has an it factor. And when young players hear LeBron say things like, one of my favorite teammates, a student of the game, what that says is one of the all-time best that can play every single position. Even he knows that positions that he can play on the floor were made better by Tyrese Halliburton. And players are going to hear that. And does that mean that you print that and hang it on a banner? No, of course not. And is it coming from a player that people here admire, love, and want to go cheer for all the time in LeBron James? No, of course not. But it is someone that is widely, obviously respected. Widely respected.
You just missed a hell of a hockey game.
The United States is playing, right?
Not yet. Canada and Czechia just went to overtime, and Canada won. They were down.
Oh, Canada.
Yeah, they were down 3-2, a little past the halfway point in the third period, and got a goal to tie it. And then Mitch Marner, game winner in OT.
Where do things stand in terms of the Olympic hockey right now?
Well, in what regard?
By the way, Czechia, that's Czech Republic, right? What is there a difference between Czechia and I know this much. I know that the former Czechoslovakia was divided into Czech Republic and Slovakia, the capital of Slovakia being Bratislava. And the Czech Republic now in the Olympics is going by Czechia. Now, does that mean that people there call it Czechia and we call it Czech Republic? Are they the same thing?
It's kind of like how you call me Eddie versus Edward.
Okay. So Czechia is the nickname, like the boys call them Czechia, but other people say Czech Republic?
Czechia is the short, informal name, while Czech Republic is the formal, official name.
So Czech Republic at a dinner gets introduced to Czech Republic and says, call me Czechia.
Yes.
Okay. Fair enough.
But what do you want to know about hockey in the Olympics?
When do the United States plays when? That's tonight, right?
They play at 3:10 against Sweden.
Or this afternoon, okay.
Yeah.
Sweden?
Yes.
Okay. And that is in my apologies for asking this. I was watching more of the cross-country skiing last night where people were collapsing when they go across the finish line. The United States, where do things stand in hockey right now? What round are they in?
They are in not the quarterfinal, or they're in the quarterfinals to go to the semifinals.
Okay. So if the United States, beats Sweden.
Yep.
Canada is still alive, right?
Yep.
Would the United States play Canada, or would that be on the other bracket?
I don't know. I'd have to go back and look at the bracket, since in the Olympics they reseed based off of 1, 2, whatever. Canada 1, United States 2, but could be Switzerland or it could be Slovakia.
Switzerland, if you could, please.
Yeah, it could be Slovakia, Finland, or Switzerland.
Okay.
Right now, Switzerland ahead 2-0 in the second period against Finland.
Switzerland, by the way, in hockey, this much I know, constantly lining up in the neutral zone. I do know that. That's the only thing I know about their hockey. How about this? The 1980 Olympic hockey team, the Miracle on Ice. Do you believe in miracles? Yes. Who did they beat for the gold medal?
I don't know.
I'll let you know exactly that answer, and we will talk a little hockey and Olympic-level runner continuing to do world records with a guy that covers all of it next. Hey there, Jake Query for Surfside. Look for the can with the sunset stripes and Surfside. Their half and half packs, for example, are awesome, whether you're talking about iced tea with a splash of vodka, or you might be in the mood for lemonade and a splash of vodka, and a wide array of new flavors: blackberry, raspberry, mango half and half, or just simply the iced tea with that splash of lemonade. And with just 100 calories, 2 grams of sugar, and no carbonation, it is oh so smooth to enjoy. Look for it wherever you buy your favorite adult beverages. Surfside. Please be 21 and consume responsibly.
You're listening to Query and Company on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Okay, so here's what we've learned, okay? Czechoslovakia is now divided into Slovakia and the Czech Republic, which is informally known as Czechia, and originally was Bohemia. So all of this, I guess, is some sort of a Bohemian Rhapsody that we've learned all this, right?
And there was
Next thing
your
you know, we're gonna be
education
driving
for today
around
on
in a
Query and
Gremlin.
Company.
That's right.
Now we can leave, Jake. We don't need to stay until 3 o'clock.
Well, I can also educate you by telling you this.
Okay.
The United States in 1980, when they won the Olympic gold in hockey, the Miracle on Ice. And that's one of those things that, you know, I was at Lake Placid. It was awesome to be there and to go into that arena. And it's still an active arena for youth hockey and other such things. But it really is beautiful. And it was a powerful moment to be there. And I certainly knew of this. And I was a little kid when it happened. But they then, and this is, I think, even more impressive than that team defeating the Russians. A group of college amateur athletes coming together to win the gold over that Russian team. And David Wood's going to join us, who covers a lot of hockey here, in just a second, and he can elaborate on this. There's a fabulous epiphany that took place with that game where the United States, in their complete joy and their eruption of disbelief and joy and throwing hockey sticks into the crowd and hugging one another in tears of disbelief of what just happened. And there's a great, I think it's one of the great moments in Olympic history. The camera pans over and you see all of the Russian hockey players, the high-powered, high-paid, long-standing, dominant program, and they're all standing, resting their chins on their sticks and staring at it. And there was a great quote from one of the Russian players that said, "We just had to stop and observe it because we'd forgotten what that was." And it's kind of what I was talking about a minute ago in terms of professionally speaking, when sometimes it's important to go back and remember the feel of the chase and to remember where you were and how when you were in that moment, because all of those Russian players were looking at the Americans celebrating and they were seeing an unbridled joy that they had forgotten about themselves, but they all at one point knew. And I think that's kind of the spirit of the Olympics to a great extent. But what's impressive about the Americans was not just in winning that game, but also the fact that they had to turn around and play another game to win the gold. A lot of people think that was a gold medal game. It was not. Finland was next, and they defeated Finland, and that's where they became the gold medal winning team in the 1980 Olympics. A guy that I know loves the spirit of the Olympics. Summer, probably more so than winter, but certainly has his finger on the pulse in all of it, is our friend David Woods, independent writer, of course, longtime member of the Indianapolis Star. And David, I know that right now we're in the spirit and the middle of the calendar of the Winter Olympics, but from the summer standpoint, one of the guys that is as famous as any now out of Indianapolis from the Summer Olympics, and it's not the Olympic Games that are taking place, but Cole Hawker continues to put his footprint and his thumbprint on the running world, and that includes recently a world record, and you were there in attendance, correct?
Yeah, it was American record. I was at Winston-Salem, North Carolina, Saturday, and Cole ran the second fastest indoor mile of all time. And we know he's good in tactical races. He hasn't been such a big time trialer, but it was very impressive. And I really think he is, even though it's a niche sport in our American sports landscape, I think Hawker's probably getting very close there to Noah Lyles as the most prominent male American track and field athlete, just in terms of name recognition and fandom.
So, I'm sorry, it was an American record, not world record, but the American record in the mile. Now, pardon my ignorance in asking this, David, but I know that he's obviously a distance runner as well. For a 1 mile, I guess you'd say sprint race, as dumb as that sounds, but was this out of the realm or niche of his forte, or is this one of the events that has always been the strong suit for him?
No, he won the gold medal at the Paris Olympics in the 1500 meters, which we call the metric mile. So this was definitely in his wheelhouse. But that's his emergence as a threat at a longer distance is more recent. He won the world championship in the 5,000 meters in Tokyo last September after being disqualified in the semifinal of the 1500. And actually, if he hadn't been disqualified, I think there's a darn good chance he would have won gold medals in both. But the fact that he could collect himself and refocus and win a gold medal in kind of his secondary event was very impressive. And only 4 men in the history of this very old sport have won global golds at 1,500 and 5,000 meters. So we're talking legends that Cole Hocker is chasing right now.
Cole Hocker is 24 years old, David, and you've covered this for a long time. You've covered Summer Olympics and running in general. I mean, a number of different sports. But at 24, one would assume that means that right now he is absolutely in the peak of his prime. From a running standpoint, and in particular a distance running standpoint, what is the window? What is, because you always look at that, Michelle Malone is one that I always think about, right? In terms of her running and her peak, and of course, obviously in her case, she also became a mother, which changed things a little bit. But you don't know how it's going to line up with the 4-year intervals of the Olympics. So for Cole Hocker, realistically speaking, he should be in this prime until what age, based on precedent?
I would say into his late 20s. In fact, I was looking up. There was someone put an interesting analysis. The last 5 world records at 1,500 meters, I think a mile, and 5,000 meters. None of them was older than 25. But I looked up on the as far as Olympic gold medalists in the 1,500, there have been several that have been older than that, and Cole would be 27 at the LA Olympics, and that would be right in his wheelhouse. And then maybe another thing that's probably interesting to note, unlike Jakob Ingebrigtsen of Norway, who was a phenom at age 17, Cole hasn't been at the elite level as early as Ingebrigtsen was. So I would have every expectation of if Hocker, barring injury, would be on the world scene, certainly for another 5 or 6 years.
When David, for runners in particular, David Woods is my guest, who, by the way, is a longtime Olympic and track and field runner, amongst other things. Also the author of Inspiring Women of Indiana Sports. They Changed the Games We Love. That book is available at pediment.com. That's Pediment Publishing, Pediment, pediment.com. David, when we'll just use Cole Hocker as an example here, okay? Runners, and you're covering them and the progression for a runner. I would imagine that, they know the technique that they need to do. They know the physical conditioning that goes into it, the nutrition, and et cetera. How much of individual running and the evolution of a runner, how much of that is mental, and having the mental strength to not only overcome fatigue, but also just the overall aspect of the competition around you and the individualized nature of it? How much of it is the mental strength that a runner needs to develop?
I think there's actually 2 components to that mental aspect. One is simply tactical, how to distribute your energy most efficiently over the course of a race. And Hocker has been a very good tactician. Now, it was very unusual. He was kind of in Paris 1500. He was kind of blocked on the inside by Ingebrigtsen, but you never see this. He regathered himself and kicked again and got by Ingebrigtsen on the inside. Now that's highly unusual. And the other one is the mental strength and the confidence. I mean, I was surprised even as long ago as 2023 when he was back in the pack, but he was coming back from injury. He always believed he would or could win an Olympic gold medal, even though it was a year off, and there was really not much indication that he could. But I've told people I think he talked himself into it.
Yeah, I think it would seem that that's a big part of it, right? It's just the belief. right? The belief. I think so many, you lose belief, you've lost, right?
Yeah, I mean, and he believed he could, and he was against the co-favorites, Josh Kerr and Ingebrigtsen. His collective record against those two guys was 0-14.
David, you have covered the Olympics a number of games, right? We're right in the middle of it from the winter standpoint. I wanted to ask you this kind of in conclusion, because one of the things I love about the Olympics, most of the sports, especially in the winter side, David, admittedly, I don't know a lot about. I mean, it would be naive of me to sit here and pretend that I'm an expert in biathlon or who's expected to be good in the luge. Every time that I turn on lately, it's been the bobsled, and I know Romania is like having a Cinderella story. And I love those stories, right? And the one thing I love about the Olympic Games is the opening ceremonies when, all of the nations arrive and you see these young people that are just so proud to represent their country. Sometimes they're the first representative of a country, whatever it may be. In the times that you've covered the Olympics, is there a particular story or moment that jumps out at you that you were able to witness, not necessarily even of athletic feat or accomplishment, but a moment or an epiphany that you had in witnessing it up close and personal where you said to yourself, that's what makes the Olympics what they are?
Now, interesting you mentioned that. I think I know what you're talking about, and I sensed this really not during a competition, but when I was at the Sydney Olympics in Australia, just at a break in the action, and just, people from all countries gathering. It was getting ready for lunch hour, and for some reason I had this wave come over me, and I sat down and I thought, this must be a little bit of a glimpse of what heaven is like,
Right.
with everybody, in a good mood and getting along and not each other's throats. So I don't know if I had such a moment in a competition or something like that, but I kind of did just in one of those quiet moments when I was in Sydney.
But David, that's the point, is the moment came not in competition, but rather in camaraderie. And that's kind of the point of the Olympics, right?
I think it is. I mean, I think it's very important that we have a worldwide gathering of people in peacetime.
Yeah. And again, it's just, to me, the spirit of the whole thing is you get all of these people together, and in the spirit of competition on the floor or the ice or the rink or whatever it may be, all of that goes by the wayside of all the other crap becomes irrelevant in those moments. And it's just about the pursuit of, excellence with each other. And I think oftentimes the athletes can respect and feel that from the others. It's amazing to me to watch the number of, like a snowboarder or somebody that puts together a good score or has a good run and comes over, and the person that they just bumped off the podium is seemingly as happy for them as they are. You know what I mean? I mean, that's the thing. I think elite level athletes, game knows game, and they know the dedication that goes into all of it. Cole Hawker on the summer side of things from an Olympic standpoint, a new American record, Winter Olympics in full bore. Again, the book talking about Olympians and other athletes, females from Indiana, inspiring women of Indiana sports. They changed the game we love. Available from Pediment Publishing, and David Woods, the author. David, a pleasure as always, man. Enjoy the continuation of the games.
Hey, thanks, Jake. Game knows game. You're right.
That's right. David Woods. And Eddie, that is not true of anybody that I ain't got no game, right? So I can't speak for that with other guys, or other athletes. But you can tell when athletes know it about one another. Sometimes I read about, I hear about, or I see something that catches my eye in the world of sport, and I say, I'll bet there's more to this story. And one of those people that falls into exactly that category of me looking at it and saying, I want to know more, is going to join us in 15. Hey there, Jake Query for Chicago's Pizza. You know, I was on their website the other day, and the top of Chicago's Pizza on their website, and I was on there just to see and again review myself the 18 Central Indiana locations and the 22 statewide for Chicago's Pizza. And right there at the top, Chicago's Pizza. And what does it say? The tabs. Home and locations. Well, that's easy, right? That's exactly what I'm looking for. Locations places that make you feel like you're at home. But then right underneath the third thing, fundraisers, party room rental, our story. Because that's the thing. The story of Chicago's Pizza, fundraisers, party room rental. It's about community coming together, and it's about helping out the community where Chicago's Pizza is. And they do so in fundraising fashion, in philanthropic fashion, but more importantly also by providing the very best pizza freshly baked just for you every single day, and that includes their fresh-baked hand-rolled breadsticks and the salad bar with all the fixings. Every day from 11 until 1:30, the lunch buffet is just $13. All of that offering and a soft drink for just $13. And, of course, the family meal deal. 2 medium, 1-topping pizzas for just $25, and that includes the breadsticks. I love Chicago's Pizza, and I know you will as well. Find any of their Central Indiana locations, 18 of them, at chicagospizza.com.
Query and Company on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
I'm not going to lie to you, Eddie. When I was in college, and this leads to a Jake Query life tip, but when I was in college, this is one of those days. What are the odds right now if you had a 2 o'clock psychology class, you were making it to class on a day like today? I hate to say it. I'm not encouraging that of young people, and I realize now everybody does everything probably online anyway, but when the weather's like this, man, those of you working, so long as you're staying near your radio, I'm giving you permission. Just go ahead and get out. Get out and about. Enjoy it and soak it in. I'll be on the road not too long from right now. Once the show's over with, I am headed to Terre Haute tonight, Indiana State and Northern Iowa, Holman Center. I'm going to head over and check out the trees. I've got my shirt on.
Really?
My Indiana State shirt. Yep.
What kind of trees are you checking out?
Sycamores.
Just sycamores?
Mm-hmm. Checking out the trees. That been a rough year for Indiana State, but my tour of the Indiana teams continues, and tonight it is Indiana State. My buddy David, who's an ISU grad, is going to meet me over there.
Are you going to see Brendan King? I don't know if he's calling the game there tonight or not. I need to actually fact check that before I mention it on the radio.
If he's there, I will certainly say hello to him.
I know he's got a big game coming up on the CW network here in 4 days, so.
That's cool. Nothing wrong with that, right?
I know, right?
But these kind of days, here's the one life tip from Jake Query. And I've mentioned this before, but this kind of weather absolutely merits for me to share, okay? I made 2 visits to the University of Kansas, maybe 3, before deciding to go to school there. The first visit, I went with my parents over, I believe, Labor Day weekend and my senior year of high school. So naturally, it was, we got there on a Friday. KU probably had a home football game. So it was a lovely, beautiful day, and everybody was out throwing the Frisbee and riding bikes and walking dogs and big tailgates for the football game. And I thought, holy cow, this is utopia. And then I leaned heavily towards going to the University of Alabama and was going to go there and live with my buddy Chris Farkas. And at the 11th hour, I started really leaning towards Kansas. In late November and December, I really started thinking more and more about Kansas. And in early March...
Did we get crystal ball projections on this back in the
I
day?
had cap dance and everything, right?
Yeah.
The crystal ball was this. It was between Alabama, Kansas, and Ball State. Those are the three schools that I applied. And I was waitlisted at Alabama and Ball State both. Now, let me tell you the kind of academic resume you've got to get waitlisted at Alabama and Ball State. Nothing against those two fine institutions, okay? And Kansas just went ahead and let me in. But I told my parents, I said, I think I want to take a second look at Kansas. And my parents, as parents of the year, and also because I'm the youngest and they were completely checked out, said, well, that's fine, but you're going to have to you drive yourself. We're not going. I said, okay. So how about this for a different era, okay? Tom Hadley was a guy a year below me in school, and his sister Amy was at KU. She was ahead of me in school, and she was at Kansas. She ran track at Kansas. And their little sister Ann was like a fourth grader. And my mom said, oh, I ran into the Hadley's mom, to Mrs. Hadley, and Ann would like to go visit Amy, so she's going to ride with you. So I, a senior in high school and accompanied by a family friend's fourth grade daughter, just packed up the car and drove 550 miles west on a Friday afternoon. Try that in 2026 without it making headlines. But either way, we had a fun drive, and then, I dropped her off to her sister, and that was that. But when I also went, the weather was like this out. And people were throwing the Frisbee and walking dogs and everything else, and I thought, this is it. This is where I'm going. And I felt totally at home. The thing that I would strongly encourage, all flippancy and kidding aside, as I've mentioned this, and I will do this quarterly probably, for those of you who have kids looking at colleges, make absolutely certain that at least one of their visits, they go and they visit on a day when it's 40 degrees and raining. Because what you need to know is whether or not you feel comfortable in an environment when it's depressing as opposed to uplifting, because if you're comfortable then you'll be comfortable all year round, and that's where you'll thrive. Because I then went to the University of Kansas, and 6 weeks after I got there, somebody turned the sun off, and then all hell broke loose. So that's my advice to everybody. There is a coach coaching in Indiana that every time I talk about college basketball in the state of Indiana, a number of people who know the game better than I, that are involved with the game better than I, a number of people say to me, no, Jake, you don't understand. The best coach in Indiana, the best college basketball coach in Indiana, is Greg Tonagel at Indiana Wesleyan. And so I looked him up one day and immediately said, I got to get this guy on the show. And we're going to do that next, and I'll explain why I felt that urge on the other side. Are we not going to break, Eddie? Technical difficulties, please stand by. We will talk to Greg Tonagel coming up in just a moment here. If you look, and I get it. I mean, we have great coaches in the state. Matt Painter's a heck of a basketball coach. Nobody would argue that. I think Darren DeVries is a really good coach. And I think Darren DeVries is going to do really good things at Indiana. And, Thad Matta has a chance tonight to get to 500. Sitting on 499, and I get a feeling, I don't know this, but when you think about everything that was said by Danny Hurley about Butler and about Thad Matta, and all of those things, it makes you wonder if Thad Matta doesn't also know that maybe even Thad Matta is thinking about, like, man, let me get to 500 and I'm good. But he's been on 499 for a while, and 500 is going to have the opportunity tonight in Georgetown, and we'll see whether or not Butler gets that done. But they're obviously great coaches. And I'd heard a lot about Greg Tonagel at Indiana Wesleyan. And sure, the record speaks for itself. I mean, he's got 550 wins. He's in his 21st season. 3 national championships. He's coached 27 All-Americans. 13 Crossroads League regular season championships. Oh, do we have breaking news, Eddie?
No, hit the wrong button. I apologize.
System's back up. Is that the breaking news?
No.
5 Crossroads League tournament championships. You know, as a coach, for his own accomplishments, a 3-time National Coach of the Year, all kinds of coaching awards, the best of the best talking about him. And as I'm thinking about all this and reading all this, I thought to myself, look at Curt Cignetti. Look at Josh Schertz. You know, look at what you've got now at IU Indy. There is a pattern of finding coaches that have success and coaches that are able to get things done by going into and finding somebody that, you know what, here's a coach that's been at a smaller school for 10 years or 15 years, or here's a coach that's had all of this accumulation of accomplishment. And does that translate from small school to bigger school? And if it does, and we've seen with Curt Cignetti that it does, we've seen with Josh Schertz that it does. And so then I thought, surely there would have been opportunity, but sometimes someone's best situation is what's best for them and not that chase. And there has to be a formula that has led to all of that to come together. And I needed to know what it was because I thought it could be applicable and something we could all learn from. So we'll do it next. Hey there, Jake Corey for Surfside. Look for the can with the sunset stripes. Surfside, of course, just 100 calories and no carbonation, just 2 grams of sugar, so easy to enjoy. Iced tea with a splash of vodka. Look at the weather outside right now. Perfect time for a Surfside. Iced tea with a little splash of vodka or lemonade with a little splash of vodka. And, of course, the half and halves where you get iced tea and lemonade in the same can with a multitude of flavors. Surfside, look for the can with the sunset stripes wherever you buy your favorite adult beverage, but please be 21 and please consume responsibly.
Tonigo with 20 seconds, 15 on the shot clock. Over it goes to Vujic. They try to go back door to Barton again. Now Barton's got it on the left side against Steger. Around a pick, Barton takes it in the middle, stop, 12-footer, got it! Lumos, 68-66. Valparaiso, 7 seconds. Webb takes it in, puts it off, and in! Great shot by Webb. We're tied at 68, 3.2 seconds. Tonigo from back corner, goal! He got it! Oh, the Crusaders have won!
Oh my gosh!
Greg Tonigo from three-quarter court! Are you kidding me?
And the crowd's on the floor.
That's how it sounded.
Oh my gosh!
Back in 1998, Valpo over Belmont, and Greg Tonigal hits a three-quarter shot. And I hate to say it to the coach now of Indiana Wesleyan, but it's probably the second most famous shot in Valpo history. But he joins us now on the Java House guest line. And Coach, first off, it is a pleasure to have you on the program. How are you?
I'm good. I don't know if you're making fun of me for being old, or you just I needed a pickup today, because my kids make fun of me and tell me I was no good in basketball, but that's a blast from the past right there.
No, you know what? Listen, you're not old. I'm the old one here, right? You are not old. But I got to tell you this, and we have never spoken before, and I kind of out of the blue reached out to you, and let me tell you why. I love the game of basketball like all of us in the state of Indiana, and I have for years heard each time that I talk about basketball, I've talked to a number of people within the game at all levels. And they're like, no, you don't understand, Jake. You got to see what the guy's doing at Indiana Wesleyan. And finally, the other day I was talking to a former Indiana guy, and he said, look, the best coach in the state of Indiana, with all due respect to the great coaches that we have in the state, but like the best coach in Indiana is Greg Tonigal. And I looked up your record. You're 22-4 this year. You're in your 21st season up there and coaching the team. You've won multiple national championships. You've won multiple Coach of the Year awards. And then something jumped out at me, and I had to know more. And that is, I saw that your mission is to find players that go after the pursuit of, that will trade the pursuit of me for the pursuit of three. And clearly that works, but I wanted to know more about what it means.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. I appreciate that. And, our motto, our culture is built upon what we call I am third. It's pretty simple, but it's very difficult to live out. It's God first, others second, myself third. And I think never more appropriate right now in college sports, especially college basketball. Do you want to build a program on that in a day and age where everybody's asking the question, what's in it for me? What's the dollar sign? How many minutes can you promise me? How can I use you to get to that next level? I think we've doubled down and just said, let's build something countercultural. Let's find kids that want to get outside themselves, want to not just have everything benefit themselves. And, to go against that tide, I think can be risky, but at the same time, it reminds me what this game is all about. And, we're not perfect at it, and we deal with some of the same stuff around the landscape of college basketball, but at the same time, I think some of the results are different, and it's given our whole staff just fulfillment in this coaching gig, because there's not a better profession to be in, but there's probably not a tougher profession to be in at the same time. And so you might as well do it with great people.
As we have gotten into, and I'm not going to say, Coach, that the greed from a player's standpoint is new to college basketball, but it's now more transparent, right? It's more overt. It's more out there. Has that actually, when you are a program that is not dealing with the big monies of NIL and all of those things, has it actually made it easier for you to be able to identify the players that have the yearning to be of a character that you need, as opposed to somebody that is more duplicitous and pretends that way, and then you find out that they're a me guy? Has it actually sifted through and made it even maybe easier to determine who it is that you want?
Well, yes and no. The temptation is there, right? I've fallen to that. This is my 21st year, and I wish I could say, the last 4 to 5, like we've made all good decisions. We haven't. But at the same time, we've also said, let's double down and let's find those guys. Let's do our diligence and find guys that want to win more than they meet the eye test, right? It's so easy as a coach to fall in love with statistics or the athleticism and all those markers. But then with that, a lot of times comes with, kids that just entitlement, right? Or they want something. And what we want is kids that just want to die to be a part of Indiana Wesleyan and want to die to be a part of a locker room full of guys that care about them, that relationships trump all the other transactional things. And, if you can even if you can just put 12 guys in that locker room, right? Like, man, you got something special because, right now in college basketball, especially, NCAA Division I, it's 15 guys in, 15 guys out. And everybody that is leaving is looking for something greater, but so are the guys coming in, right? They're coming in thinking, man, this program owes me something and I'll use the program for whatever. And it's not a great situation right now. So we're trying to build something different, and we're trying to go about it different. And, and it may not be for everybody, but at the same time, it's worked for us.
Greg Tonigal is my guest from Indiana Wesleyan. He's on the Java House Cold Brew guest line. Coach, some of the principles I think that you're teaching here to your players, I think all of us can learn from it, no matter what walk of life we're in. And I wanted to use an example here. You won the first national championship in 2014, if I'm not mistaken, your first of 3, right?
Yep.
You win 31 games. You win 33 the next year. You win 33 the year after that. You win your second title. You win 29 games. You come back, you win 31 again. You win your third title. So you win 3 titles within like a 5-year span there. How did you fight against complacency?
Yeah, that was a tough period. I remember after the third national championship, I kind of was going through a little bit of a midlife crisis, saying, what do I want to do? Because if you don't have a burning desire to do this, it's a profession that you probably shouldn't be in. And I went through it a little bit. I kind of explored some things, but through it all, I realized, like, man, this is what I'm cut out to do. Like, I can't imagine doing anything else. I'm competitive. I love people. I love the flexibility of it all. And so it was during that time that, once again, you kind of had to say, well, who are we? Like, it's not just about winning these national championships, because you may never win another one, right? Like, my best teams have not won national championships. One was COVID. They shut the tournament down. Another one was we had Kyle Mangus, who's with the Spurs right now, and we just didn't win it. And so if it's always about that the end of the season, that tournament that everybody puts all the stock into, man, you're going to walk away disappointed. So you got to look back and realize it's the journey, it's the relationships, it's all those things that really people don't see and you don't get credit for. But at the end of the day, that's the fulfillment you find in this job.
We're seeing more, obviously, Coach, the Curt Cignetti story, right? Josh Schertz is another one that went from a small school, had a huge winning percentage, Indiana State. He goes there, and you saw what happened. Now he's in SLU, and he's only got 1 loss on the year. Were you ever tempted? Did you ever have overtures from other people saying, hey, give it a shot at the next step up?
Yeah, there was times where I thought maybe it is time, and I had to go through that process, right? You don't know until you go through the process. And every time I did, it just wasn't clear to me. And part of it is I've got 6 kids. I got a big family, right? You just don't pick up 6 kids and a wife and say, hey, we're moving. And also at the same time, I think I've got something special here at Indiana Wesleyan. I mean, we've got it all here. I got everything but the $1 million contract is what I tell people, right? I've got a great facilities, great people. I can have work-life balance. I'm not dealing with some of the crazy stuff that these coaches are dealing with, agents and the crazy NIL. And I love that, and at the end of the day, I'm pretty happy and satisfied with the run that I've had.
When looking at your resume, okay, and I'm going to read off a couple of things here. 3 national championships, as I mentioned, 27 NAIA All-Americans, 13 Crossroads regular season championships, 5 tournament championships, 2-time National Player of the Year, Small College Basketball Player of the Year, 4 seasons finished number 1 ranked in NAIA Division I, a winning percentage of nearly 80%, 550 wins. When you look back over all of it, and I talked earlier about this, Coach, for all of us, I think sometimes we forget the thrill in our younger years of the chase. And when we didn't have as much, and when it was all we had was a hope and a vision, right, of where we wanted to be. Can you still capture within you that thrill of that chase, even with all of that accomplishment now?
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm in my 4th quarter. That's what I was telling somebody the other day. And I've been here 21 years. I'm 45 years old, and I won another national championship pretty bad. I'm not going to lie. It's been a while. There's always that competitor in you that says, can I do it again? And we're building a new arena. We've got just a new administration and president who's doing a lot of great things for us. And there is a part come to realize, like, every time you win one, you immediately go to the next one. And as good as they are, they do truly never give you what you think. Like, you can chase them, and I've had a lot of friends in this coaching profession that will chase all that at the expense of something, right? At the expense of a marriage or the expense of raising kids. And that's what I don't want to do. I don't want to chase it at the expense of missing my kids' high school games. I got 2 boys that are in high school now, and nothing brings me more happiness than watching them play high school basketball. So I'm going to give it everything I got in this fourth quarter, but I'm also going to make sure that along the way there's a priority and I got things in order.
What's the proudest moment you've had as a coach that cannot be reflected by looking at a trophy case?
Well, I'm to the point now back with families. They'll come back with a 2-3-year-old, and it's amazing to see them in that role because, man, they were immature punk kids at 18, and we laugh. We laugh about the discipline. We laugh about moments where it was heated. But now it's like, man, they're friends. They've got families, and often they'll tell us stories about how they're applying what they learned, in real life. And those are those full circle moments that mean more than anything in coaching.
You obviously have been around the Drew family a lot, being somebody that played at Valparaiso and, played for Coach Drew and obviously his sons around it as well. What did the Drew family mean to you, or what other noted Indiana figures perhaps have you learned from?
Yeah, I played for both Homer and Scott. So Homer was my coach. He decides to retire, and Scott becomes head coach for 1 year before he went to Baylor. And Homer got me the job at Indiana Wesleyan. I'm 24 years old. Like, they should not have hired me, but Homer got on the phone and said, just give him a shot. And I owe him for this job. And I've stayed in close contact with Scott throughout the years. He's done a great job at Baylor. And we're always talking and sharing ideas. And Indiana's the best state. I think some of the best coaches in the entire country are in the state of Indiana high school. When I'm recruiting, I'm going down there not only to see a kid, but I'm learning from these guys and trying to pick their brains as much as any college, because Indiana is such a special place for basketball, and it starts at the high school level.
Lastly, I wanted to give you the opportunity for this because, you talk about molding young people, right? And having – and clearly over 21 seasons, you have a core belief. You have a mission statement, if you will. For somebody listening to the show right now that is in a rut in their job or in their personal life, or they're just trying to find some sort of a motivating factor to just be able to continue and reach the next summit of what it is that they're looking for personally or professionally, what would your coach speak be? What would the lesson be, or what drives you from the day-to-day aside from the pursuit of simply another ring?
Yeah, that's a great question. And every time I find myself looking inward, and every time I find myself at the center of focus, one, I'm never at my peak, but either are the people around me. And I was just talking to my team about this. We had a road game where we turned a little inward, and I said, the interesting thing about being so self-focused is you don't get what you want, but neither do the people around you. So I said, we've got to learn as a team to turn outward. It's, this is back to who we want to become. If you put your attention on God and what he has for your life, and then you allow that to direct your attention towards other people, everybody wins. But we get so caught up into, what I want, what I think I need, the pursuit of me. And I've been down that path. I'm telling you, it's not fruitful. It's not fun. And if you want to have an exciting and purpose-filled life, you just got to be able to reverse that.
So will you retire at Indiana Wesleyan?
Man, that's a good question. That's a good question. I don't know. I love to fish and hunt, and that's kind of what I think about these days is like, how can I coach and fish and hunt? So maybe somewhere in North Dakota, there's a good job for me. I'm joking, but that would be ideal.
I've always kind of been this weird low-key Wyoming fan, and I think they're kind of struggling. So, Laramie's nice. It's just brutal in the wintertime. But listen, we'd love to have you stick around here in Indiana for sure. But, Coach, I appreciate the time. I congratulate you on your success and certainly hope the continuation of that. 22-4 right now is where you stand, and I appreciate the perspective and the time today.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. It was fun.
I appreciate it. Greg Tonigal, again, the head coach at Indiana Wesleyan. Interesting stuff. And I – the I think there's such a value there in what he talked about, and you could hear it. I mean, right away, you're like, okay, this guy gets it. And, are we getting away from a little bit? I think college basketball is great, and I certainly love, and it's going to be an unbelievable NCAA tournament this year because you've got any number of, Michigan last night, what they did at Purdue, Michigan's outstanding, and their ability to shoot from the outside, which I totally slept on. I did not give them enough credit for that. Their size, clearly, and their length. But Michigan's outstanding, and Iowa State is really good, and Arizona's good, and it goes without saying Connecticut is really good. Illinois is – I would not sleep on Illinois. Kansas is starting to come on. It's going to be a great tournament. But
6 upsets last night.
6 of them?
6. Yeah.
I'm trying to think of obviously Michigan over Purdue is not an upset because Michigan was number 1, right?
Iowa beat Nebraska last night. Arizona State beat Texas Tech, and it was a bigger blow for Texas Tech.
Fred Hoiberg. Did you see Fred Hoiberg?
Yeah. JT Toppin, their star player, who is one of the best in the country, left late in the second half with a knee injury.
No relation to Obi.
No relation to Obi. Does not look good there. And so Texas Tech falls to Arizona State last night. NC State pummeled
North Carolina. Boy, they absolutely – that was never even a game.
Yeah, and Caleb Wilson's out with that fractured hand, so you have to wonder how much of that was a factor. Archie Miller defeating Josh Schertz last night.
Oh, Rhodey beat SLU, okay.
Yes, 81-76. SMU beat Louisville. The Red Hawks stay perfect. They won last night against UMass. And then Ohio State destroyed Wisconsin.
I'm telling you, there's so much balance, right? And that makes it great. Don't get me wrong, but there's also just, as he talked about there, the looking inward versus outward and those things. I think there is a refreshment and a joy and a relief in seeing still the level that it's about guys going out and just playing the best basketball they can play.
Another good set of games tonight too.
The NIL and everything else. What do we got tonight?
BYU, Arizona, 9:00.
Big
That's
one.
on ESPN. Big. Yeah. Ooh, Pig Suey.
Woo! Pig Suey. That's Arkansas.
And they're taking
right?
on High Tide. High Tide. You remember that commercial?
No.
Oh. It's like, I forget, I don't know what the company was, but it was like a guy standing outside the bus line, and he thought it was High Tide and not Roll Tide. So he's yelling, High Tide, guys, High Tide.
That's pretty solid.
High Tide.
So Arkansas, Alabama tonight, right?
Yeah. Kansas at Oklahoma State. Road contest for the Jayhawks. That's at 9:00. Creighton, UConn. Although that shouldn't be much of a game. Connecticut should blow them out of the water.
And, of course, Indiana State, Northern Iowa, baby.
Yeah, that's right.
And I'll be there.
Yeah, that's right.
Good day to get on 70 and drive out west. Might stop at Cloverdale. Stop at the Clover Queen. See if my aunt and uncle's old restaurant's still there. It's not. But I could pretend it is, right? But I just commend. I think sometimes you can learn a little bit, even at the age of 53, from what a coach is trying to teach kids at 19 and 20. Is, in fact, a player that could be once again available to the Colts, somebody that could land here. Charlie Clifford is covering Red Spring Training, but also covers the Bengals. We'll have that discussion with him next.
Barry and Company on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Oh, it's the flatulent Bengal. Got some bad takeout, did the Cincinnati Bengals when they did this song. You know, honestly, every team at some point came out with some song, and other than the Super Bowl Shuffle, all of them are embarrassing. By the way, Eddie, do you happen to have the breaking news sounder? I just did a scouring. It appears as though on this, the 18th day of February, a day after the day that we set as the over-under, the parking lot is entirely clear of snow remnant. Now, there is one small sliver. There's one holdout.
I don't know what that side road is right there by 10th Street. That's where I saw the snow. And then back there in that back corner.
The
by
back
the light.
corner is clean as a whistle.
By the stoplight?
Yes. There's one little sliver hanging on for dear life to the curbing below us. But the parking lot itself, which was the original vernacular of the discussion, and yesterday was the over-under, you took the under, and it looks like today, the first day of the over, we are good to go. That's how it appears on this false spring. Now, it is warmer here than it is in Arizona, but Charlie Clifford is with the Reds in spring training down in Arizona. Of course, everybody knows Charlie from his time here at Wish TV, now doing television in Cincinnati at the NBC affiliate, and joining us on the Java House Cold Brew guest line. Charlie, are you still celebrating the fact that your Miami Redhawks are undefeated?
I am. America's team, as Indy is well known now. Greg Doyle had a great write-up. I think it was yesterday. Just get ready. Get ready for Iron Eagle. Welcome to the Final Four with a MAC introduction. They'll be, 33, 34-0 at that point. It's been awesome. In all seriousness, I was doing student radio there in front of a few hundred people, 12, 13 years ago, and I never thought it was possible, Jake Query, and here we are.
How far can they go, honestly? Because and look, they're obviously very good, but they did not play an arduous pre-conference schedule, but you play the teams that are there. And at some point, Charlie, the challenge becomes playing against the record, to be honest with you. I mean, I think that alone takes a mental maturity, if you will. But how far do you realistically think they can go?
Well, we won't be standing on the Lucas Oil floor like we were a decade ago when the UK was running out against Wisconsin with the perfect season on the line in the Final Four. But they can absolutely win a game. This is not a team that's going to line up and just get blown out. The guards are good enough. As many mid-major teams struggle with when it becomes March Madness time, the depth in the post is going to be a problem against these bigger teams, but they can absolutely win a game. I wouldn't be surprised if they aren't favored, in their first game, depending, how high seeding wise they line up. I think recently they were right around the 8-9 line, looking at some brackets. So I don't know. What do you think?
I think there'll be a 7 seed. 7-10 is always an upset game. I think there'll be a 7 seed. I'm going to say right now, I'm going to say they go to the Sweet 16.
Woo-hoo! Wally in 99. The late Charlie Coles is smiling hearing that.
That's right.
Jake. Yeah.
I'm telling you, they're going to go to the Sweet 16, right? All right, Charlie, let's get to this. The big story in Cincinnati, not involving the Reds at spring training and not involving the suburban Miami Redhawks, but that is of Trey Hendrickson, who now, once again is in a season. ESPN just had a column of teams that or players that just could use a change of scenery. And Trey Hendrickson is a guy whose name continues to pop up. Question is, what does Cincinnati do with him, including do they tag him? Do they let him go into free? I don't know obviously he can go into free agency, sign and trade. Indianapolis has been rumored and linked to him for a while. Where do things stand right now?
Well, he's done playing for the Bengals. He's played his last snap. The relationships there on both ends, this has been a back and forth negotiation struggle for multiple years. And last year was kind of they came together on Hendrickson's part, not he wanted a multi-year deal. He just got a pay bump. It's the end of the road here. So they have two options. Let him walk and get a comp pick next year, 2027, which based on his all-pro status, would come in as high as a comp pick can, be handed down. I believe it's a third rounder, potentially, best case. Or, as you said, tag him and try to get maybe the equivalent of that, if not maybe a little better for this season, 2026 pick. So that's what they have to decide. I think they're going to let him walk. I really do. Last year, they tagged T. Higgins the Monday after the combine. So keep an eye on that timeline. They're very, they're very regimented here. So I expect they go to the combine. They take a look around to see what, if they tagged him, what they may be able to get. But you have to sit down with three parties if you tag him. Hendrickson's agent, Harold Lewis, the Brown family, led by Duke Tobin, and then the third-party team. And you have to find a deal not only that Hendrickson likes, but that the Bengals like in terms of trade value coming back. I just think the headaches that's been these negotiations, they want no part of it. And I think at the end of the day, it's going to be a third-round pick either way. And my gut says they don't tag him, but I don't know. What's your take with Lou Anarumo's ties with Hendrickson? Because obviously Lou would love him.
I think Anarumo, obviously, the precedent, Charlie, would be that, there is a loyalty there, if you will. And I can't say, individually, man-to-man on that. But, yes, I think Chris Ballard is comfortable in delivering Anarumo players with which Anarumo is comfortable, right? The question then becomes what the asking price is. If it's the third rounder, Ballard is usually very protective of, quote, draft capital, but they gave up 2 first-rounders to get Sauce Gardner. Then the question becomes, Charlie, does the fact that the Colts don't have a first-rounder the next 2 years prioritize them holding on to an early-round pick? You got to look at that aspect as well. But I want to get back to what you said originally about, this being the end of the road for him in Cincinnati. What is the origin of that rift?
It's just the contract stuff back and forth. He came into camp last year, obviously sat out because nothing was done, and, called out Zach Taylor for basically threatening to fine him for missing camp. It's just been a slow burn, and they've had heated arguments. Both sides have talked about it. Not that cooler heads didn't prevail, not that he didn't step on the field last year and was ready to go week 1. But it's just past time for both parties to move on. And it's sad in one respect because he's the best pass rusher that they've ever had in terms of when you look at his numbers, what he's done in a 4-year run in Cincinnati, a free agent coming over from the Saints who was very, under the radar. The numbers aren't even close in terms of his production comparatively on an annual basis. But it's not a secret in Cincy that this is going to be it.
Charlie Clifford is the guest. He's on the Java House Cold Brew guest line. To get a reminder, you can go to the Java House app. Be sure to download the app and use the code JAKE25 to order in advance at any of their Central Indiana or West Lafayette and Lafayette locations. Your food and drink ahead of time, 25% off with Jake25 when you use the app for Java House. Charlie, the Bengals are a franchise. I almost feel bad for them. And the reason being, I was covering that game when they played Pittsburgh many moon ago when Carson Palmer got hurt. And that was just, the window just closed. And I know that still probably lingers over Cincinnati. And now, Joe Burrow is one of the most elite quarterbacks in the league, but I wonder if just the combination of injury and the things like we're discussing, if the window hasn't already begun to close on the Burrow-Cincinnati opportunity as well at a ring. What is the sentiment there?
The sentiment is it has not yet, but 2026 is make or break. The last comment Burrow made at the podium this year following the regular season finale, they lose to the Browns 6-10. It's a number that you wouldn't even think was possible with him in there. Of course, he missed half the season. But he was just asked, how big will it be for this team to get on the right track, get back to the playoffs in 2026. And he just did a mic drop. He said next year is as big as it gets. And that was after about 3 weeks of comments on his Wednesday presser where he alluded to a lot of things have crossed his mind as it pertains to his future. He was asked point blank, do you see yourself playing anywhere else next season than Cincinnati? He said, no, I can't see that. And then the follow-up was, do you ever see yourself playing anywhere else? And he just says, you think about a lot of things. That was the direct quote. So he's saying it without saying it. We need to start winning, and they need to put a defense on the field that gives them a chance, because the last 2 years they haven't had that. It's been a complete whiff on the defensive side of the ball. Everyone knows it. Burrow knows it, and he's the lead voice, and for him to be that blunt about it at the end of the year, I mean, it's an all chips in the middle, to quote the late great Jim Irsay. You're all in on 2026
chips
or else.
In the middle. There you go. Okay.
Hey, outside of the airplane engine, right? On the tarmac.
That's right. With the dog nearby. Yes.
Love you, Jim. Yeah, that's where it's at, though. You're right. It could be a completely different conversation next year, but that goes there's two sides of the coin. They could also be the team in this kind of now wide open AFC that makes some defensive additions and is back playing for a trip to go to the big one next year. So they're not as far away as the pain that presented itself this year, but at the same time, if they can't figure out this defense again, I mean, can you blame Burrow for starting to really push? Am I wasting my career here? But it's not to that point yet.
Charlie, are you prepared for? And I know that opening day is obviously a big deal in Cincinnati. It's historic from the Reds' standpoint. But this is the year of, again, the 1990 repeat of wire to wire, right? Are you already preparing for the World Series parade? How do they look at spring training?
Oh, where's Sweet Lou? Let's do it again. I just was with Eric Davis 5 minutes ago. He's loving it. There's excitement because the Castellinis, who own the team, they bumped up payroll this year at the last minute, bringing in a legit elite home run hitter in Eugenio Suarez, who comes back. Last year, Ellie De La Cruz, 22 homers, Spencer Steer, 21. That was it for Reds, over 20 homers. They only had two guys hit more than 15, and it was those two. So Suarez, who hit 52 last year, if you count the 3 in the postseason, he's been a jolt. Francona's motivated as ever. His mantra this year, he delivered in the opening spring training meeting on Monday, was, quote, "It's time." The Reds are a nice team. They've got a young, nice starting staff. They've got this De La Cruz guy who can kind of do it all. Now they brought Suarez back. No, it's time. They're sounding like a different team. Will the offense be there is the question. The starting pitching, second in WAR last year in baseball. I mean, they're about as steady as you can come, and that was with Hunter Green missing almost half his starts. So, hey, if they can hit the ball a little bit around Great American, it could be a really fun summer in Cincinnati. How do they stack up against the beast that is the evil empire out west in Los Angeles? I don't know, but if you just see the players here playing for Francona now in year 2, they understand how loose he keeps everybody until the first pitch, and then they turn into what their manager is, and that is one of the best skippers in the history of the game. So I think there's reason to be legitimately excited this summer, and that's the first time you can say that here in a long time, and I know you know that.
It is 62 degrees and light rain, according to the iPhone, in Goodyear, Arizona, and Indianapolis right now. Sunny and 68, baby. Eat your heart out.
Hey, and I'm glad you had. That was so query to open the segment of taking bets on when the snow is cleared. I miss the Jake-isms, man. I really do.
Well,
and I know you're in good hands there with Eddie.
We're glad there's one, right?
Yeah.
I mean, hey.
Got a tally on the board.
That's right. Charlie, appreciate the time as always, man. Enjoy the sun of Arizona, and make sure the Reds are looking good.
Likewise. Hope Shannon and the crew are doing great, and hope to talk again soon.
Everything's good. Appreciate it. Charlie Clifford joining us on the Java House Cold Brew Guest Line. Again, Java House, go to the website and download, or go on your phone, actually, and download the app for Java House. And then anytime you're in the area of one, and they have one downtown, they have one right on New York Street. They have one in the Simon Building over by the state capitol. They've got one at Clay Terrace. They've got one in Midtown in Carmel, one in Broad Ripple, a couple in Lafayette. And if you are nearby and you say, you know what, I'd like a snack or a beverage, no problem. Order ahead of time on the app. It'll be ready for you when you walk in, and use code Jake25 and you get 25% off. So what's not to love about that? JMV is in the building. I just saw him. I'm wearing the shirt of his alma mater, Indiana State, because I will be going to Terre Haute tonight to see Indiana State taking on Northern Iowa. But we will find out what John's got locked and loaded for his program as part of the crossover, brought to you by the good guys at Love Heating and Air. Love-HVAC.com is the website. 317-353-2141, the telephone number for Love Heating and Air.
You're listening to Query and Company on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
JMV has arrived. His show, of course, coming up just a couple of minutes from now. The crossover brought to you by the good guys at Love Heating and Air. John, what's on the big program today?
Well, I'm going to see if I can hook up. You're going to see Indiana State tonight?
Correct.
Greg Lansing's doing whatever siren thing that they do over there before the games.
Oh, he is?
So he's going to be over there. I'm going to see if I can get him on the show today. So, yeah, we'll do that. Talk a little bit about last night. So, you think there's any regret at all from IU fans, have you noticed, regarding if they would have made a move a year earlier and maybe you could have Dusty May? Or is everybody okay with DeVries?
I think a little of both. I think people are still cautiously optimistic about DeVries, but it is impossible to not wonder why they would not have gone after Dusty May, right? I mean,
all a part of that Iowa trend. Did you know the state of Iowa, they created basketball?
That's right. And did you see?
I say it to Buchanan all the time too.
You saw Fred Hoiberg.
Yeah.
Got into a little scuffle in the handshake line, right?
Hey, seriously, do you think Mick Cronin's ever had his ass whipped?
No, he needs to. I mentioned that off the top of the show.
I mean, you talk about a little bald pipsqueak that, you better.
I mean, Eddie, do you have that audio again of Mick Cronin from yesterday? So this was after the game in Michigan State where UCLA got their doors blown off. They suck anytime they're not playing on the West Coast. And this was, Xavier Booker, who is from Cathedral and is now with UCLA by way of Michigan State, was hearing it from the Michigan State student section yesterday. And afterwards, a reporter, oh my gosh, had the audacity to ask Mick Cronin about his reaction to one of his players hearing it from the student section. And here's the exchange.
What was your thoughts in the student section chanting Booker's name?
I could give a rat's ass about the other team's student section.
I just meant overall the way that you
I would like to give you a kudos for the worst question I've ever been asked.
Did you like
You should take it.
the preparation of the...
Do you really think I care about the other team's
No, I don't
student
think you care about the other
Are you
team's-
raising your voice at me?
No, I'm just
Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are. Come on, dude.
No reason.
Come on. Yes, you are. Everybody's
You're 5'2". Yeah, I'm raising your voice
Everybody,
to
this
you.
is on camera. They can hear you. I answered the question. I could give a rat's ass about the other team's student section. I coach UCLA. I don't care about Michigan State students. I mean, who cares?
Yeah, that's a dude that I mean, what he does not look or sound like someone that understands the pressure of a big-time job, and that's absurd.
You're pulling that stuff off, and you're not Danny Hurley.
Correct.
If you want to be
That's
Danny
correct.
Hurley, you better go out and win like Danny Hurley. And believe me, Mick Cronin has won, and I think Mick Cronin is a good coach.
I do
but
too.
why in this world, outside of the money you would get and the fact that you would live in L.A. and Southern California, why would you want to play for that dude?
No
why
question.
in this world, in this landscape, would you
especially when-
other than those two things,
And
which are
John,
pretty big?
How about the fact that he had a player in the game that, yes, there was a hard questionable foul late, but then he makes a huge scene out of embarrassing the guy by kicking him out of the game? Come on, man.
Well, he couldn't figure out what to do with that Mara kid a year ago, and Dusty has seemed to figure out how to utilize him,
To say the least, right?
very
He
well.
was a huge difference last night.
So, and again, you can act like that because we know that you can act certain ways if you win at a certain level, but if you don't, then it's going to be viewed just like that.
And again, the narrative of I'm going to whine about how hard the scheduling is at UCLA. Who didn't see that coming? Everyone knew that was going to be a challenge. But all right, John's up next. Greg Lansing, Indiana State.
I
Tonight,
believe
Northern
so.
Iowa.
I believe so.
Okay. And I'll
Well,
give you
safe
a full
travels to the
report.
TH tonight. You're going to Moggers before
that?
You're going to Moggers, or you're going to Ballyhoo Pizza King before?
I don't know where I'm going ahead of time. My buddy David is working over in Terre Haute today, so I'm meeting him over there. And I think we're actually going to go and pay our respects to Tony Holman's resting place.
Oh, nice.
And then I got a little pregame dealio that I'm doing that I can talk about tomorrow. So I got to be there about 6:15 at the arena. So I look forward to it.
That's awesome. That'll be a fun time, man. I
fun.
love me. I'm going over for their final regular season game in less than a month. So.
Hope they win tonight, but we'll see.
They probably
All right,
won't.
John's up next, and I will be talking with you at noon tomorrow. Thanks for listening.